Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. Today we are going to talk about the EVH 5150 iconic amp. First of all, I just want to say I have never ever in my entire life of playing guitar known an amp to be discussed and talked about as much as this amp. Now obviously there's a reason behind that. In fact, there's a lot of reason behind that, and we're going to cover them all in this video today, and I'm going to give you my opinion as an EVH artist, what I think about the talk and what I think about the amp. First of all, what we need to get clear is that nobody's heard this amp. Okay, this amp has not been heard by anybody than somebody that's basically been working on the amp or works there. There's not going to be any videos snuck out, you know, by somebody at EVH who might have played it, because, you know, it's more than the job's worth. This is the most anticipated amp that we have ever seen, or at least I've ever seen in my entire lifetime, and definitely my guitar playing life. Now, first of all, Eddie passed away, and I think because this amp has come out post Eddie's passing, bless him, that it's getting so much grief, and also the fact that it has 5150 on it, not 5153. Now Eddie's original 5150 was obviously a Peavey that was tweaked by James Brown, who is one of the most high gain iconic pedal and amp designers of our living time. Let's get that clear. He hooked back up with Eddie after leaving Peavey, and he went off on his own doing various different ventures, which I've discussed in another video. He had amp tweaker pedals, that was one of them. The pedals sound absolutely awesome. He moved on from there, went back to EVH, and he is working for the guys at EVH there. Obviously, you know, poor Eddie is not around anymore, but he did want this to happen. This is not Wolfgang's or somebody else's idea that's just like come along. This is Eddie's. This is what Eddie wanted to do. He wanted James Brown back on board, and this was his idea for sure. James Brown has never made anything that doesn't sound great that I know of. So let's talk about this. On the internet you get idiots, don't you, that think they know how something's going to sound before anybody else just by looking at the specs. Now these type of people are the snobby types of people that are stuck in a rut, that will judge how something sounds just by reading a spec sheet or just by where it's made, and this is stupid. Now for instance, the EVH 5150 iconic is designed so students, people that don't have a big enough income to go buy a Mexican made EVH 5153 or an original 5150, it's designed so those guys there can go out and own an amp that says 5150 on and sounds great. It's made in China. Now before everyone starts giving me the snobbery about China, what I want to get across to you is that I've played a Jet City HDM a long time ago. My rhythm guitarist used it alongside me on stage. I was using a Peavey 6505 plus a Messer dual rectifier, and then later than that I used the EVH original mini 50 watt head, and that Jet City sounded amazing, and it stood up, you know, against all my heads in the mix. I've done a demo of it somewhere. It sounds fantastic, and my guitarist, my rhythm guitarist, preferred that head to his 5150. Horses for courses, you know how it is. It's all down to personal preference, but what I will say is that that head was gigged heavily with the original Chinese tubes in, unbranded, and it stood up, and it sound fat and extremely evil, extremely punchy. Okay, one thing I will say is the Tolex was a bit cheap. You know, it felt a bit like wallpaper rather than, you know, some of these nice Tolexes that you see behind me. But the actual amp itself, it sounded fantastic, and it was made in China. So we don't need to start worrying about this thing that's made in China, If it wasn't made in China, it wouldn't be affordable for the market, for the guys, for the consumers that it is actually aimed at, which is the people who don't have the money available to buy an EVH 5153 or an original 5150, which is going for ridiculous prices now on eBay and Reverb and all these types of sites. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is the tubes. Oh, this is going to drain me, this one. So, I'm going to try and talk about it without saying too many times, but the new EVH iconic heads and combos, they have 2 preamp tubes instead of 4 or 5, which other EVH amps have, and they are getting slammed for having just 2 preamp tubes in, which is just ridiculous, because James Brown invented the amp tweaker pedals with no tubes in, and they sound fantastic. Axe effectors that are on stages all over the place, and probably every man and his dog has owned one at one point, have no tubes in whatsoever. It's completely digital, and let's face it, whether you like tube amps or not, or whether you like axe effects or not, it doesn't matter. We can't deny that the axe effects, Kemper, Moore G300, Helix don't sound good, because they do sound good. They might not be to our specific taste. We might be old-fashioned types and like the tube heads, but they still sound good. So to say that this thing only has 2 tubes in, so it must be garbage, it's just hideous. It's just stupid, it's ignorant, and like I say again, nobody's heard this thing. How on earth, right, can you judge a head or an amp that you've never ever heard? And what makes me laugh mostly about this is that the Iconic is actually stacked with specs that people have wanted on EVH 5153s for quite some time. A power level adjust, which is already on the combos, is on the head. There's a noise gate on there, there's a boost built in. I just think that they've put everything into this amp and still kept it affordable by making it in China. We don't know whether it's got 2 preamp tubes in instead of 4 or 5 to make it more affordable, or whether that's just the way it's designed. James Brown, you know, one of the most iconic amp builders of our time, has created this thing, and people are going, it's going to be garbage. It's made in China. It's only got 2 tubes in. You know, I'm not buying it. I'm having nothing to do with that rubbish. Nothing. I won't bother buying it. I won't have anything to do with it. More fool you. Because if for 600 quid you can get a massive 5150 80 watt head that sounds great, and you just simply are so stubborn that you cannot, you know, you cannot bear to buy this thing, and you will tell yourself, even if that head comes out and it sounds absolutely amazing and it beats all the other EVHs, all the predecessors, there will be guys that will still be so stubborn that they will not admit, you know, that it is the best, and they will go, oh, I'm not touching that thing, it's garbage, it sounds like crap, and they'll just say that anyway. You know, more fool them, because what those guys are doing is almost robbing themselves of a piece of gear that actually could be really, really good, and that they probably really like, but just because it's made in China and has 2 tubes in the preamp section, they're not going to buy it. They don't want anything to do with it. More fool them, you know, more fool those guys. I personally have ordered one. I ordered one straight away. I want to hear it. I want to put it up against my other amps. I want to do all what I do on my channel. I will not get that head before guys like Ryan Bruce and Ola. I've noticed recently that Ola started putting, since the Iconic head came out and was announced, all of a sudden Ola was putting things on his channel that were Fender related, like Jackson, a lot of Jackson guitars, EVH guitars. I don't think he's had a Charvel on yet, but he has had an EVH 5153 100 watt EL34S head like I have, and before then he'd not really touched it. So what I think is he's reached out to the guys at Fender because he wants that head on his channel, because people are waiting for it, and I know for a fact that when that amp comes to my channel, whether I'm after or before whoever, it will get massive views. Who doesn't want an awesome EVH for 600 quid, you know, that they can gig with, that has power level control on, that has a boost, that has a noise gate. Who doesn't want that? I want that. Whether it will sound, you know, the name Iconic suggests that it's going to sound like the original 5150 that Eddie had with Peavy. What I will say is we don't know that yet. We don't know whether it's aimed to sound like that head, or whether it's maybe a design that was never put through of that head, a version of that head that was, you know, never sort of saw the light of day. We don't know that yet, and we don't know whether it will just sound like the old 5150s or whether it will sound like the modern 5153s. All I can say is that I have faith in EVH because all my EVH amps sound great. People ask me all the time which is my favourite, and from one week to the next it changes. You know, I've been using the Stealth a lot, hell of a lot at the moment, the 50 watt Stealth, and that's probably, if you're going by usage, that's probably my favourite at the moment. It's getting used the most, but I don't know if it's my favourite because the EL34 Monster down there that's kind of buried is probably not getting used as much, simply because it's got all the other heads on top of it and a cover on, and I'm lazy. But yeah, so it's all stupid. Guys are cutting their nose off to spite their face just because it's made in China, because it's got 2 preamp tubes. All I'm going to say is it's stupid, and if you're watching this video and you think that you already know what that head is going to sound like, then you are the biggest liar on earth, because you don't know what that head is going to sound like, whether it's got no preamp tubes, 2 preamp tubes, or chuffing 10 preamp tubes, you know. And you also don't know how reliable it's going to be. You don't know whether it's going to be roadworthy or not. You don't know this yet. You can't say this because nobody's seen the goddamn thing. So what I'm going to say is hang around on my channel, because this head is most definitely coming. In the UK I'll probably be one of the first people that gets it. I'm lucky like that, you know, and I really appreciate having such a good relationship with EVH over here in the UK. Fluff will get it first, probably Ola as well, maybe a couple of other guys, and then it will probably land on my channel. But please do not judge something ever, you know. Don't judge a book by its cover. I'm throwing all kinds of old sayings at you because they all ring true. It's just so stupid to write off something, you know. Eddie was not this type of person either. I think that's what bugs me the most about this. Eddie created all these amazing pedals, amps, pickups, guitars for years, speakers, you know. He did all this for years because he is open-minded and always wanted to improve, and he would try anything he could. You know, his guitars are made of basswood. People moan about that today. Eddie swears by it. He likes it. I like basswood too. I think it's really tight. It can't be a coincidence that every basswood guitar that I've ever owned has a really tight, pokey upper mid clarity to it. You know, Eddie knows what he's doing. You know, he might not be here anymore, but he knows what he's doing. I'm pretty sure nobody knows him better than his own goddamn son, who is now in charge of his brand. So have some faith. Stop moaning about things that you don't even know about, because you don't know about it because you've not heard it. Stick around if you are interested in the head, because it will be coming right here. I'll see you all soon. No gossiping. Please leave below in the comments what you think about this video and what you think about my opinion of silly people who think they know what something sounds like even though they've not heard it. And I'll see you all very soon.